Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the M1 KVT, of which is a currently Tier 6 battle rating 10.0 medium/main battle tank in the American Ground Forces tech tree. This vehicle currently comes in a pack that includes 2,000 Golden Eagles, 15 days of premium time, and of course the M1 KVT, all for the cost of $59.99 USD. With that said, in this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this Krasnovian variant of the Abrams, including its stats, how it plays. I'll give you its strengths and weaknesses, I'll go over some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation and if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. With that said, if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing to my channel, but without further ado, let's get into it. Now to start, I'll place its stats here on the side of the screen. Things to note are its 105mm cannon, high power to weight ratio, and excellent turret traverse. Now, for how it plays. In short, the M1 KVT is just a stock Abrams with an optional Vismod package. If you decide to remove the optional visual modification, you will gain side skirts over the tracks and lose camo netting, and also the empty rear fuel barrels, and also gain around 500 kilograms of weight, as well as lose a marginal amount of speed. Aside from increasing highly angled heat FS protection, removing the optional Vismod does nothing for you except make you look like a regular Abrams. Now regardless, the M1 KVT is essentially a speedy damage sponge that can flank and cap with ease, due to its fantastic power to weight ratio that is nearly 30 horsepower per ton. This makes the M1 KVT among the fastest MBTs in War Thunder. When combined with its excellent turret traverse rate that goes up to 40 degrees per second, the M1 KVT can flank and spank better than nearly any other tank in game. The only issue is, and the main thing quite frankly that holds this vehicle back, is its armament, with the KVT sporting a 105mm cannon whose top shell has a max armor pen of 372mm, which is mediocre at this BR to say the least. Meanwhile, other tanks tend to not only have larger 120mm plus cannons, but also have APF SDS that can typically go through 400+ of armor, meaning that they not only have a higher likelihood of penning an enemy compared to the M1 KVT, but will typically do greater post-pen damage as well, and many of these are actually lower BR compared to the M1 KVT. Because of this, KVT players must be especially knowledgeable of enemy weak spots, like turret rings, lower glacis armor, and of course the tank-by-tank weaknesses in the upper glacis plate or turret, as the M774 APF SDS of the KVT will not be as consistent as what many people might want. If you can master enemy weak spots, however, the KVT can be essentially anything that you want it to be, whether it's a brawler due to its excellent armor, turret traverse, and fire rate that can be as low as 5 seconds, a flanker, a base capper, or some combination of these three. The most similar vehicle in game to the KVT and how it plays, aside from the standard Abrams itself, is likely to be the Leopard 2A4, except for that the KVT has somewhat better armor and speed, while of course sporting a weaker armament. Regardless, this is a true main battle tank and can essentially do whatever you ask of it, as long as you're not in a contest to see who has the most armor pen near top tier. Now with that said, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses. And first, for its strengths, it has excellent rearload rate that can get to as low as 5 seconds. Second, it has nearly a 30 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, which provides excellent mobility on any surface. Third, it has a good range of shell types, including Heat FS, 2 different types of APF SDS, HESH ammunition, as well as smoke shells. For its fourth strength, it has a great turret traverse rate that can be as high as 40 degrees per second. Fifth, it has turret blowout panels that can increase crew survivability substantially. For its sixth strength, it has very good armor around all but the rear of the turret, as well as very capable lower glacis armor. Beyond this, it has a top-mounted HMG, which will assist in destroying lightly armored vehicles and aircraft. And finally, it has premium RP and SL bonuses. And now for the weaknesses. The M1 KVT has the M774 APF SDS shell, which is mediocre at its current BR of 10.3, due to its top armor pen being just above 370mm, which other vehicles have no problem clearing 400+mm, typically again at this BR. Second, while any thermals are of course good thermals, the KVT still only has Gen 1 thermals, which are low resolution and will make it difficult to spot enemies at a range. Third, While it isn't a real weakness, the KVT has 1,400 fewer LMG rounds than the standard M1 Abrams, but no one's ever going to run out of those. For its fourth weakness, it lacks a commander sight, which could be a point of contention for many players. And finally, keeping the KVT Vismod trades better speed for lack of composite side skirts, which could on occasion make the difference between being penned by a highly angled Heat FS shell or not. Now with all that being said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. First and foremost, for armament, I give it a 5.75 out of 10. The armament on the KVT is a double-edged sword because, on one hand, its top APF SDS, the M774, only goes through slightly over 370mm of armor at best, but it also features an excellent reload that can get down to 5 seconds flat with an aced crew. Additionally, it is only 105mm, which is at the lower end of the spectrum at and around this BR. Still, with smart shot placement, the KVT should still do very well in most situations, though should obviously avoid shooting things like upper glacis plates and turret faces. If this vehicle did not have as good of a reload as it does have, it would be a 5 out of 10 in this category at very best. Now for mobility, I give it an 8.25 out of 10. Being both the lightest Abrams due to the Vismod upgrade, as well as having over 1,500 horsepower, gives the M1 KVT a nearly 30 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, which is fantastic any way that you look at it. Because of this, it is not only among the fastest MBTs in game, but it can also hold its own when compared to the fastest ground vehicles in general. The KVT is incredibly mobile across all surfaces and will be able to reach any battlefield hotspot quickly and with ease. Not only this, but the KVT features a fantastic turret traverse rate that will help tremendously with mobile flanking kills. For survivability, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Being the lightest Abrams also comes at the cost of having the least armor, with the turret cheeks being relatively thin at this BR compared to later Abrams, as well as having the Vismod removing side skirts in favor of weight reduction and of course a cool look. Though the side skirts won't be able to protect against anything outside of the worst Heat FS shots, the thinner turret cheeks are kind of an issue, at least in theory. Compared to the premium Leopard 2A4, the KVT has thinner frontal turret armor, but makes up for it with thicker side turret armor, as well as generally thicker lower glacis armor, which makes this a slightly better protected vehicle overall. The KVT can survive many turret hits, as well as a bevy of frontal hull shots, but like pretty much every other tank ever made, side and rear shots will always be a killer, as the KVT, expectedly, has very little armor to stop anything more than the lightest of autocannons in those exposed areas. Otherwise, the KVT is very well protected in the areas that tend to matter most. Also of note are its blowout panels that will protect against ammo rack explosions in the turret, as well as relatively thick internal armor plates that help to protect the crew against spalling, shrapnel, and other things. Now overall, I give this a 7.25 out of 10. It's weird to say when talking about an Abrams, especially considering how Abrams are nowadays, but the biggest weak point of this vehicle is its armament, which suffers from the mediocre top-level M774 APF SDS shell. While it is somewhat bolstered by its very fast reload speed, the KVT has a lesser armament on a shot-by-shot basis compared to nearly all similar BR vehicles, premium or otherwise, including the Terms, Challenger DS, Leopard 2A4, ZTZ 96AP, as well as much lower BR vehicles, such as the Rurocat 105, VRCC, and even the Type 74G. Regardless, that reload rate, along with its great survivability and even better mobility, turn the M1 KVT into an extremely formidable MBT that focuses on speed and shooting weak spots while also being able to take plenty of hits, rather than being able to fight every MBT head-on, though one still could easily do this with good shot placement. Now with that said though, do I recommend the M1 KVT? I do, but mainly if you like speed and armor, but don't mind lacking a bit of damage. The armor pen from the KVT is still plenty to kill most enemies, especially from the side and against frontal weak spots, but players must consider those shots more often with this vehicle, as opposed to, for example, the Terms or again the premium Leopard 2A4, both of which have better armaments. In fact, one could look at the KVT as an equal to the premium Premium Leopard 2A4, kind of as I mentioned before, but instead of a better armament, the KVT features slightly better speed and armor, but just marginally falling short of making up the difference due to its weaker cannon. Regardless, I still think that the KVT is a worthwhile vehicle to purchase and is, in my opinion, better at 10.3 BR, especially since the mild decompression at top tiers than the XM1 is at its current BR of 9.3. The M1 KVT can stand up to a large amount of punishment and can also rush around the map, but needs a good player to effectively use its somewhat middling armament in order to make this vehicle as effective as possible, whereas the aforementioned Terms and Premium Leopard 2A4 hold your hand a bit more and are easier on those that don't know weak spots all too well. So yes, I recommend the M1 KVT, but be warned that the middling cannon may not be for everyone, especially newer players. But with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing if you like this video. Either way though, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care everyone.